I started to learn and understand about manifesting and fears and doubts and thoughts. I was like, these thoughts aren't real. These are just thoughts running around my brain. And that's when this journey of waking up started to happen. It was like this push and pull all the time of, I'm getting a little bit forward and then something would happen. But then I started to realize those moments of challenge that were hard, they were the times that I was tested. And I was like, okay, now I realize there's a lesson in everything I'm doing. And everything is just in your face. And you're awake and you're aware the whole time because it becomes only you. It was only me responsible for all the choices that were happening. And I'm like, wow, I've got one choice here. And that's to create a life that I really want to live.
Hello, beautiful, and welcome back to the Art of Being Unstoppable. Today I have a conversation for you that is such a beautiful reminder that sometimes life doesn't go the way we planned. But that doesn't mean it isn't taking us exactly where we need to go. My guest today is Suz Hutchings, joining me all the way from Australia. And honestly, she is an absolute gem. Suz and I talk about what it looks like to start over. We talk about divorce, motherhood, money, fear, business, identity, and what happens when you finally stop allowing fear to make all of your decisions. Because sometimes the hardest part isn't taking the next step. It's trusting yourself enough to take it before you know exactly how everything is going to work out. Sue spent years wearing all the hats. Wife, mom, employee, business owner, and somewhere along the way, like so many of us do, she had to stop and ask herself, who am I underneath all of this? And that's really where this conversation goes. It's about letting go of the things that no longer serve you. It's about learning to hear your own voice again. It's about realizing that the life you thought you were building might not be the life that feels most aligned with who you're becoming. And one of my favorite things that came from this conversation is this. Fear can still show up, but it doesn't get the vote. You don't have to have everything figured out. You don't need to know every step. Sometimes you just have to trust yourself enough to take the next true one. So if you're in a season of change, if something in your life isn't working the way you thought it would, if you're rebuilding, pivoting, questioning, or quietly wondering if there might be something more waiting for you, this conversation is for you. So grab your coffee, put your headphones in and go for a walk, or settle in wherever you are. And let's get into it. Here's my conversation with the absolutely beautiful Suz Hutchings. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of The Art of Being Unstoppable. Today, I have a special lady from Australia here with me today. And, you know, when you and I first met, Suz, it was like, I don't know, it was like we were meant to connect, I know that, and we just connected, and I really enjoyed your energy, your person, just everything about you. So thank you for coming on the podcast today.
Oh, welcome. So good to be here. And I feel the same with your energy, isn't it? When you meet people, we're on other sides of the world, but I love how special that is.
Yes, me too. Me too. That's one thing I think that, you know, with all of the negatives and the positives with the social media and everything that goes on, I think that the one positive is that we can reach people from all over the world and we can connect and we can sit, we can have a coffee and chat just like this and it not be awkward or weird or, you know, this is kind of like the norm now.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, we get to meet people, from the other side of the world. It's so special. And just because we are all connected, aren't we? Like when you look at it like that, I've been a little bit obsessed with the moon and Artemis too. And when you look at everything what they can do, when you're looking back at the world, you're like, wow, we're all just one together. But why do we feel so disconnected?
And it's so true. You know, that's maybe something that we can talk about too, is like, why do we feel so disconnected sometimes? Like, why does it feel like, you know, it's like one side and the other? And I always say that with every woman I meet for this podcast and the women I just meet, you know, on a regular basis, but, you know, you have your views, I have my views, and there's a gap in between. We don't have to agree on everything, but that gap Why can't we fill that gap with love and understanding and respect rather than judgment and making each other wrong and, all of that? Why can't it be more like, women, I think, this is just my view, that when doing this podcast, bringing women together to share their stories, to show that other women, that there is possibility, you can do anything that you put your mind to. And I believe that we can, as women, change this world one woman at a time. I do believe that. And I believe that, this podcast is going to be something that's going to support that.
Yeah, 100%. You're already doing it. Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, and there's so much, and I don't know what it is, that gap in the middle of where we think we can't achieve something or we're not all the same. But when I notice that when I'm in different groups with different women, like we were talking about before, you just are so expanded. And maybe sometimes people feel like not intimidated, but a little bit like, oh, I can't do that. I can't achieve that. So I can't go and spend time with people. But I've noticed that everyone always starts somewhere. We always start somewhere, and it's just a matter of starting, isn't it?
It is. It's just a matter of taking that one step and committing to one thing at a time. Yeah. That's all. I know that we wear a lot of hats as women, and we tend to try to sometimes have a lot on at the same time, just because we're being moms and we're working and we're doing and we're doing and doing. But, at the end of the day, being able to take those hats off and know who you are at your core, your soul, your being, I think is been the most transformational for me, is learning who I was underneath all of the hats that I wore for so many years.
Oh, yeah, that's huge. That is, and isn't that I feel that way from my journey for the last couple of years. And that's so hard to say to someone that possibly doesn't understand that journey, that I feel, yeah, I say that to people who are having kids. I'm like, for those 10 years until those babies are like 10, you are just like on autopilot and you're raising other humans. We forget who we are. We're like, what do I like to do? What is my interest? And it's very hard for women.
It is very hard. So tell me, let's tell everyone a little bit about your journey, because, your journey is pretty interesting one, and you've done and accomplished and conquered many things in your life. You really have. And, how about you share a little bit of that with our listeners?
Of course. Yeah. Tell me if I go on a ramble and stop too much. But yeah,
I'll rein you in, don't you worry.
No. It's funny because I have just had family over from New Zealand, and they were only 17 and 15. And I was like, oh, I left home when I was 17 and moved to Australia. And they were like, Suz, that's really young. I'm like, I know. Like, I don't even think about that time. But yeah, 17, I was born in New Zealand, and then I moved to Perth with a friend. We were like, let's go traveling. Why not? So moved to Perth and I'm 46 now, and I've been back and forwards all over, traveled around the world in that time. But yeah, I met, my ex-husband now, but we were together for 21 lovely years, had 2 kids. I've got 2 teenagers now. Got an amazing co-parenting relationship. The 2 kids and the dog, week at his house, week at my house. And I talk about that because I love it. I'm like, he's an amazing father. We had 21 years together, but it shouldn't be any other way. Like, our life is so easy. We just split costs, we share everything, and it's just so great. So that's moment of me.
That's not easy for a lot of people. Like, how did that happen from the beginning with you when you separated, or was that something that you made sure, that was what you wanted? Like, how did that come about? Because I know that's not easy.
Absolutely. I used to visualize how I wanted the divorce to look, and that was co-parenting. I want my kids to thrive. It absolutely was difficult at the start. It's funny, obviously, to divorce, there's rocky times. Once we both separated, everything fell into place. It's like we became good friends again. Because obviously I remember it took me 2 years. 2 years I would look at myself in the mirror and go, Suz, you can't leave. You know, you're going to not have any money. You won't be able to travel. What if the kids have a new mum? Like all those fears and doubts and worries used to be like in my face. So it took me 2 years to really make the decision. But once the decision was made, everything was quite smooth. And there was a few rocky parts, like, you know, learning like new boundaries and how our life looked, but it was tiny. It was so, and I think that's when I started to wake up too and go, hang on, I'm not perfect here. There's a lot of work I've got to do on myself too.
Which I think is something to be said right there. When you can see that and own that, things work so much better because you can't change the other person. And yes, it's so easy for us to say, he was wrong. It was his fault. This is why it didn't work, blah, 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 blah. But when we can say, no, this is my responsibility, the things that I need to take responsibility for so that I can literally make this life a better life for my children. Right?
That's massive. You know, I look at my ex-husband now. If any of our friends would go look at our lives now, he is exactly the same person as he was when I met him, right? It is me that has gone on this journey of coming back to who I am. And I truly feel, Susanna and I talk about it a lot. Like I look at pictures of who I was when I was an 8-10-year-old and I'm like, oh, I feel so connected to that young little girl that just got a little lost in the middle, very lost.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, that's that journey to coming back to exactly what you said at the start of who we are.
Yeah. And, you know, and the growth that comes with that when you do the work, which is,
Oh yeah.
it is nothing short of amazing, I think. And I think that once you start the journey, yes, things change in your life. They do. People change. People aren't there the same. You're not there the same, but it's never anything other than what it's supposed to be.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And I feel like the work never really stops, does it? It's just this journey now of change.
Yes.
Through life.
Yeah. And growth and experience and enlightenment. It's a beautiful thing. Like, you know, when I look back at things that I think I could have stayed there. I was comfortable. I could have stayed there, like where I was, you know, working or doing whatever in any aspect of my life. But I couldn't imagine not being where I am now. And even through the shitstorm that I endured to get here, much like yourself, like it wasn't just an easy ride. Like you didn't just, you know, go along and everything was great. Like share some of those ups and downs with us. Like I know that it wasn't that easy. And like you said, it took you 2 years to make the choice to move on.
That's a big push and pull of even understanding why is it so hard to make a decision. I remember when we did separate, it's funny, a friend said to me the other day, because the kids now freely go back and forwards to each house. When they go, it's wonderful. I have this time to myself. And someone said to me, oh, is that not hard for you? And I'm like, not now. Like it was very hard at the start. Like I remember they would leave and I would just be crying and a mess because it's huge. It's your whole life has just changed. Even though you wanted it, you're like, I don't even know who I am. So I went through some really big changes in that time. I remember trying to buy a house. I was renting. And I remember trying to buy a house and nothing was working. And I remember I started to learn and understand about manifesting and fears and doubts and thoughts. I was like, these thoughts aren't real. These are just thoughts running around my brain. And that's when this journey of waking up started to happen. And it was like this push and pull all the time of, I'm getting a little bit forward and then something would happen. But then I started to realize those moments of challenge that were hard, they were the times that I was tested. And I was like, okay, now I realize there's a lesson in everything I'm doing. What is it teaching me? And everything is just in your face and you're awake and you're aware the whole time. And because it becomes only you, it was only me responsible for all the choices that were happening. And I'm like, wow, I've got one choice here. And that's to create a life that I really want to live.
And that's just a magical thing, whether that is with a partner, whether that's on your own. But when you choose that powerful choice that you choose, you know, I often say what you don't know, you don't know, and what you can't see, you can't see. But once you see it, it's like, oh wow, it's a beautiful thing. So after you separated and it took you some time to probably get into that routine of, okay, the kids are there for a week, they're here for a week. How did it go with you buying a house? Like, were you working at that time? Did you have a full-time job that you could afford to do what you wanted to do? Because I know money was a thing that you were afraid, I'm not going to be able to do anything once you separated.
It was massive. And that was a fear of leaving. I was like, I don't need to spend a lot of money. My family lives in New Zealand. I want the freedom to be able to go and see them. I wanted to go out for coffees and that was a big thing for me. So I was renting and I noticed I was being a little bit reckless with money, you know, and I was partying like you do. And I was like, this has all got to stop. So I started to make some big changes. I was like, I don't alcohol. I don't need to drink. It's not proving anything in my life, any benefit. And I started to go down that path. And then I was absolutely working. I was in medical sales so I had a great job. But I remember when I'd moved in, I ended up, they had a company restructure. So I lost a job and I was like, oh, okay. I'm single mom. I've got no job. I told nobody. I told nobody. And I remember having a vision board on the wall and I had 2 jobs that I was trying to apply for. And I was like, and that whole knowing started to happen. And I feel like 80% of the time, my mindset was like, I'm going to get the job. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And then the other 20% was just that real push and pull of, what if I have nothing and we're living in the streets? So that kind of started. And then I got another job 6 weeks later. And then and all these things just started to happen. I'm like, this is working. Like whatever this is working. So yeah, then I applied for a home loan. Oh, that was rough. The market in Perth was changing so much at that time in 2022.
Oh,
And I would have put, over 10 offers on houses. It was a nightmare. I got a property accepted and I remember being in Sydney at a conference and then I got the phone call to say that my finance was declined. Just like, oh my gosh. Like, I'm like, what next? But again, I was like, okay, there's got to be a reason here, but it was rough. It was really tough. And that was a real moment of, I remember the house I was renting, they were possibly selling it as well. And I remember driving along seeing it's happening now in Perth. There's a lot of homeless people. And I was like, oh, I can see how that could be an absolute reality. Yeah.
and I think it's happening everywhere. I think with the economy, I don't know really what it's like in Australia, but I know here it's been unbelievable. And I hope, I mean, I try to say it's going to be better. But you know, it's just so uncertain. And I think that that's what the problem's like, that it really is. It's so uncertain.
Yeah. Uncertainty. It's massive. Yeah. And I'm so grateful to sit back now and go, thank goodness I went through that. Because as horrible as it was, the kids didn't know, you know, I was able just to keep doing it myself. But the way I've experienced now in business and helping other people buy houses, I was like, if I didn't go through all that, I wouldn't understand how they feel now when they come to me and they need the help.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I love that. Because then I'm like, I am on the right path. You just get this confirmation that you're like, that's what was meant to happen.
Yeah. Yes, the universe works in mysterious ways, doesn't it? Because when, you know, every push and pull, every single time it's a lesson. You were aware enough to be able to ask yourself, okay, what am I supposed to learn here? There's got to be, you know, and I truly believe that too. There's a reason for everything. And you know what? Sometimes we don't like it, but we still need to learn it.
Yeah. Every day. Every day. Like, damn it. Yeah. Yeah. So it was tough, but, Yeah. So I remember that's when I started to also go, okay, I need to create a life. I knew business was always super important to me. It was super important I always was not going to be a 9 to 5er. I knew that. And so I started to go, well, what business is important to me? And, I had a few options coming up, but that's when I fell into the buyer's agent space. And I remember there was a moment, I feel it, like this would be now over 3 years ago. I remember standing in my lounge room going, wow, I absolutely can see my life being in business, doing this, helping people buy houses. It's so crazy, isn't it? I would say
Yeah.
that to you and you'd be like, of course, completely.
Oh, I get it completely. Like I have said the same thing. This is what I see. I see myself doing this, and this is, so I know, I 100% understand that feeling and that knowing. And it's such an amazing feeling when you get to get quiet enough to hear your intuition. And I think sometimes we don't realize that like you said, the drinking or the constantly going or doing is just, it's slowing the process, because you're not listening, you're not hearing, you're not seeing the signs. You're just allowing life to life, and you're not even participating in it because we're on autopilot so much, right? And sometimes, like you said, like what happened, but it happened because you needed it to happen so that you could see what was possible.
Yeah. Yeah. To be in this place now, like I'll never forget that feeling. And that's why, I think business has gone very well for me in a short time. And people are like, oh, you're doing so well. And I'm like, yeah, I get that. But when you have lived through that feeling, that people of uncertainty, of fear, worry, hell am I going to be living possibly with kids? It has
Yeah.
been not easy. It's been the hardest thing going into business, but it just makes perfect sense. Makes
Mhm.
perfect sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know how to
Yeah.
plan for the times when it's going to be lower times, or right, like we understand it now when you see that flow and that ease. But being an entrepreneur is not an easy thing, and it's because it's on you, right? It's a constant worry about, okay, well, what if I don't have that client this month, or what if I don't meet the the goals that I've set for myself so that I can keep growing. Like that is definitely something that people don't understand. When you're an entrepreneur, it can be very lonely sometimes, because you're thinking, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can do this alone.
It's huge. And I'm on my own too as a single woman. And that feeling like, because I had a really good paying job in pharmaceutical sales, and I, again, told nobody, maybe ChatGPT. We had a few chats and we're like, thinking about quitting my day job and going all in on my business. I only had positive support, and that was huge. I had 10 grand in my bank. I was only on my second client. This was only July last year. I was like, oh, cool. Client number 2. Yeah. And I was like, no problem. But I was like, the knowing was still there, that
Yeah.
deep knowing. And I knew those fears and doubts were coming in. Oh, what if, Suz, what if this doesn't work? I'm like, well, what if it does? Like, what
What if it
if it
does?
does? Yeah. And then that is when I remind myself now of that, I'm like, why would I worry about anything? Like everything in these big moments in life has worked out.
Yeah. And if we can believe, that's the thing, I think too. Like you said, when you can believe it and you can see it, it does happen. We get to choose our lives. We get to choose our path. We're not stuck. We don't have to be stuck. We get to choose it. But sitting in that, and I always say, are you going to sit in your shit, or are you going to move on? Because we all have it, right? We all have it. You had it when you were going through your divorce, and you weren't, you wanted that change. I had it. We all have it. But, you know, someone said something to me, and I truly believe this is about, the 4 levels of responsibility. And we get to say life is happening to us. Like, why does this keep happening to me? But I believe that if I am the source and creator of my own reality, that I get, like, this is my life.
Mm.
And I get to trust in God, universe, creator. I get to trust that there is nothing that they put on our path that is making us stop. Unless we need to stop for a reason. And then we need
Yeah.
to realize that as well. Like, we've talked, we've had this podcast scheduled a couple of times, but then I had that happen, and it was like, okay, something's telling me to stop. And I did go into that little bit of why is this happening? I've been on this great momentum. But then I realized, no, Vicki, you're supposed to.
Yes. I love that.
Right? And Susanna would say to
Yeah.
me, checking in, I see you healthy. I see you seeing beautifully. Like, and it's true because, and I am, right? And I am.
Mm. Yeah. Exactly. And and it's so much of just letting go, isn't it? We
Just
talked about at the start about control and woman and mom, and we're so busy when we just let go. And I've got to practice it every day, like letting it go. We get caught up and busy and high pressure, and you think, oh, I must
Yes.
keep doing something to make everything. But you're like, no, the more we let go, things just flow. Like we've got
Yeah,
to do the
they
work. We've
do.
got to get into our masculine energy and make things happen. But then we just need to let go.
Yes, absolutely. When we say let go, we're not saying you just sit back and you let things happen. No, there is a doing, but the being has
Yeah.
to be there first. You have to know who you choose to be. And when you hear that sign, feel that sign, see that sign, hear that sign, you'll know.
Wow. Yeah.
And I love
And I
that. I
wish,
do.
yeah. And I wish more women, if we're talking about women, could have that experience, because like you, probably the same. I feel so content in my life. Life is amazing.
Yeah, yeah,
Nothing
I
outside has
do.
changed. I live in the tiniest little house. Do you know what I mean? I've
Yeah,
never been happier.
yeah,
And
yeah.
there is so many people living, like I'm on a lot of Facebook groups, and you see it, this pattern of like miserable. And I'm like, ladies, it's a hard one.
It's funny because social media can be a blessing and a curse, I believe. I believe it's a blessing because I have met amazing, wonderful women in the groups that I'm in the group that I've created. And I also hear women saying how other people, how they talk to them and what they say and how they put them down. And, it's just so horrible to even think that another woman would take another woman down. For
Yeah.
me to think that you're going to take her down, you're going to make her look less than because she's standing up for what she believes in.
Yeah.
I
I
just don't
know.
understand.
And there's a lot around that with you, isn't there, on social media too, about like, sometimes I've thought about that. I've thought about my success that I've had in the business, and then I'm like, and I go to thinking about posting it, and I'm like, oh no, retract a bit. I'm like, well, no, it's not coming from ego. It's like, if
No.
I can have nothing and have created it myself, we all
Yes.
can. So if we all felt
Yes.
that and supported each other, imagine how many more incredible men too, like just anyone in
Yeah,
life that knows and wants to change.
absolutely. Yes. And I say this time and time again on this podcast, people are going to start going, okay, Vicki, we get it, but we can change this world one woman at a time, because if women listen to us, and every woman that comes on this podcast that shares their story of not just success, but of the downtimes, of the struggles, of the course that they had to take to get to where they are. It wasn't an easy road. It's not just paved and it's not like the yellow brick road and we have everything figured out. No, we're learning as we go, but
Yeah,
we're learning
absolutely. Yeah.
and we're
Yeah.
allowing
Learning,
ourselves to
exactly.
do so.
Yeah. And enjoying it, isn't it? At the same time, and
Yes,
enjoying the whole
it is a
process.
beautiful thing, Suze. Yes. Yes,
Mm.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And if we can be the women
Yeah.
on the other end of that negative or that comment and just say, you know what, girl, you've got this. If we can be that, then that's what I'm going to be. I try to just be, and it's not about positivity. It isn't just about being positive because it's just about being caring and genuine and aligned and living with intention.
Yeah. Exactly. Intention. Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It's amazing. And
Absolutely.
especially with children too, I think being able to show them, I look at my kids a lot too, and I'm like, they've seen it, as a single mom, and it's hard and, not hard, but I'm like, oh wow, all these conditions and limiting beliefs and like, the way I even move around the house and we talk about abundance and everything. I love that I'm able to change it for them, for when they grow up and become adults. And yeah, it's very, yes, it's so rewarding to be able to see that.
It is. Yes. Now, do you find, now this is like, did you find once you started really focusing on Suze, not the mom, not the wife, not the worker, just Suze, that there, like when you had brought up with your children, did you notice that ripple effect with the people in your life? Did you notice that the other people around you they started shifting a little bit as well?
So much happened. I remember especially over the time when I stopped drinking too, because I think I was post-divorce and all my friends are like, what's happening? Where has Sue's gone? I think for like 8 months, I just stayed home by myself, especially when the kids would go to their dads. That work started to happen and to change. And I started to go, like, I mean, I broke down up and down many, many times, and it was like I felt like I was shedding all these layers all the time. But I started to go, like I started to reinvent who I was. But that's why I talk about that young photo of Suze. I'm like, because I started to become playful again and fun and carefree. And it's like you can feel it all happening at once. You're like, wow, what happened? Like, how did I become so removed from who I actually was? And friends, I noticed, friends come and go and they started to see a change in me too. But then also stepping into business, it was like, I need to find people in business who can, exactly what you said about those lonely times. You were like, wow, I need people who actually understand what on earth I'm going through.
Yeah. And they're there, right? They're out there. Just because you
Yeah,
may feel stuck right now, it doesn't mean that that's where you're going to stay. The evolution and the constant change and the being and the discovery. There's other people out there going through the same thing. You're never alone.
correct. I love that. Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I love your story, your powerful story, because I was a single mom. I have a daughter that's a single mom. I know tons of women that are single moms, and it's not an easy thing to be. It's not, but it is as easy as you choose it to be sometimes because, you get to make those choices and those steps and yeah, it's hard. And sometimes you're not eating, maybe sometimes you're eating a bowl of microwave popcorn for dinner because you can't afford it. But you know
Yeah,
what? When you know you're doing it, it's the best popcorn you've ever eaten.
absolutely. And they see that too. And then you kind of just go, well, this is just how it is. I wouldn't
Mhm,
change it. I wouldn't change a thing for the world at all. You kind of
mhm,
go, well, this is what they're seeing. And who knows? Yeah. I actually, yeah, it is hard and it's a lot. But I have such a supportive ex-husband who, like to be so grateful to have like a man in their life that is so good, for them and around them. It means everything.
mhm. It
Yeah, it
does
is a
mean a
lot
lot.
and we do a lot. Yeah, but it
Mhm.
happens and it all just, it all works out.
And that's the key, I think. It does all work out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you could say something to that 18-year-old girl that moved to Perth now, what would you say?
Oh, felt like wanting to say, hold on, hold on for the ride, because it settles eventually. And that you will be okay. Like you will
Yeah.
get through it all and it will be okay. Completely different version of who I was. Yeah. Yeah.
So now what would you say to yourself in 10 years from now?
It's fun. That's come up in this conversation. I don't want to say I want to take every risk, but it's like any single opportunity is just yes, yes, yes for everything.
Good for you.
Everything there is. And it's because I have so much evidence and the knowing that everything always works out, even if we, maybe we don't even know if it's the right or wrong path. There isn't a right or wrong path, but it would be just take every opportunity and worry about nothing.
I love that. So if you're
Yeah.
listening to this and Suz is available, I mean, you have a very good business. You're doing amazing. And, maybe we'll, get to meet one day. We will get to meet one day. I know that will happen. And, but all of Suz's information is going to be in our show notes today. So if you want to reach out and, get to know Suz, maybe have her help you get a house in Australia. That might even work too.
Move to
But
Perth.
thank you.
Yes. We have
Oh,
a
come
lot
to
of
Perth.
beautiful
Yes.
homes.
But thank you so much for being here, taking the time to share your story. I know that, as we're living it, it's never easy, but you did it with grace and you did it with conviction. And I do think that that's just one of the most beautiful things that a woman can do. And you've done it and you're continuing to just grow and you're showing people that it's possible. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Vicki, for having me. It's such a great podcast and it's just so great to connect. Like I
It
love
is.
more than anything to connect with people on the other side of the world who were in the same situation.
Yes,
And yeah, the more
absolutely.
women that,
Absolutely.
start
Yeah.
listening, so good.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for listening. If you like this episode, please share it with somebody. I'm sure that they would appreciate it just as much as we do. Thanks a lot and we'll see you again. Have a beautiful day. And before we wrap up today's episode, I want to leave you with this. If something you heard today stirred something in you, maybe you recognized yourself in this story. Maybe you felt seen. Maybe there's a question you've been carrying, or maybe you're simply feeling like there's more of you waiting to come forward. I want you to know that you don't have to figure it all out alone. That's exactly why we created Coming Home. October 16th, 17th, and 18th. We are gathering women for a beautiful weekend of slowing down, reconnecting, releasing what no longer belongs to you, and remembering who you are underneath all the roles, expectations, and the noise. This isn't about becoming a better version of yourself. It's about coming home to the woman who has been there all along. So if something in today's conversation is still sitting with you, maybe that's your invitation. Come join us at our Coming Home retreat. You can find all the details and reserve your spot at the link in the show notes. And remember, you don't need to become someone else to be unstoppable. You just need to come home to yourself. Until next time, be brave, be honest, be you, and be unstoppable.